And hello, ladies and gentlemen. We have a great show for you today. We are absolutely packed, and we have probably for the first time since, I don't know, March, maybe February, maybe January, I don't even know. We have a live show for you today. It's been so long since I felt comfortable enough to do this whole show without just coughing all the way through it, as I may or may not have done right around the time we started doing taped shows only. But it's a big deal. It's great to be back, great to be live on this Wednesday night. Here's what we got on the docket. Joe Biden is making history, or did make history yesterday by joining auto workers on the picket line. An absolutely huge deal. As we get you updated on the UAW strike, we place Biden's visit in its appropriate context. Pretty big and pretty important to do. We'll also take a look at Trump's response, him speaking to blue-collar workers at a non-union factory. We'll try and figure out what he's trying to do there. I don't know. It may be an area he's going to have to cede some ground on. And, of course, the Republican debate will give you an extensive, full recap of all the drama and all of the gossip, thanks to Aaron Rupar on Twitter compiling a bunch of clips that we're going to go through. Cloud sharking, engagement farming. It's got to be good for something, right? But anyway, we got a great show for you all. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Newsflash. All right, yeah, so it is a pretty big deal. I think it's an absolutely major deal around the fact that we have Joe Biden going into this UAW picket line here. NBC News has the story as President Biden made history on Tuesday when he visited a picket line in Michigan in a show of loyalty to auto workers who are striking for higher wages and cost of living increases. Biden, who's looking to polish his pro-labor persona, and by the way, something I think that is pretty interesting, he broke that rail worker strike. No problem. They were lining up behind him right before. He didn't really help too much with the Teamsters strike. He wasn't really that big on the SAG-AFTRA strike. All of these groups, what's the one commonality? They endorsed Joe Biden ahead of the election. The UAW, because of really concern, with this new Shawn Fain leadership and some real concerns they had about the transition to EVs, they held off. And it really doesn't take that much. If you're used to getting union support every single solitary time, no questions asked, just lining up behind you, just one start to go, it was like, hey, what's this? And look what happens. Biden is looking to, in these key Rust Belt states, they're going to propel him across the line. He is looking to get there pretty fast, which I think is something that progressives certainly could learn a thing or two from when it comes to the just political strategizing and the many, many political debates that have been going on kind of along those lines on the left in recent months and years. Speaking to a bullhorn, he told striking auto workers in Wayne County, "You deserve what you earned. You earned a hell of a lot more than what you are getting paid now." And it's really kind of a great way to phrase it. A reporter asked Biden whether he's endorsed the union's demand for a reporter asked Biden whether he endorsed the union's demand for a 40% wage increase over 4 years. The union worker standing near him said yes, and he responded the same way, according to a media pool report. The answer seemed a departure from the White House position that it would stay out of the negotiations and leave the specifics to the union and the management. Wow. Like, that is an incredible thing to say, an incredible thing to, again, it's the reason why I put this in the title is because it's a gesture. It's a massive, historic gesture. It's something that literally no other president has done in the past. Because, again, there's two standards. There's a standard here. There's two different standards you can kind of compare this on. There's two different standards you can kind of weigh this on, right? You have the standard of one side. You have the situation when you have the standard of, this is the more tempting standard, you have the presidency. Like, what is the presidency historically? What have Democratic, what have Republican presidents done? Obama, for example. I think it's great to kind of compare Biden to Obama, to Clinton on this as well, to maybe the last two Democratic presidents. The idea of them going to a picket line first as sitting president, unimaginable. But the idea of them coming in endorsing 40% wage increase for the UAW workers in 4 years, like, these are the people who make your Chevys, who make your Jeeps, Dodge, Rams, Chryslers, all that stuff, like, to endorse that wage increase for such an important part of the American economy, that is absolutely unthinkable for any president, Republican or Democrat, to do literally ever. Like, that is an absolutely huge deal. You do not see that happening. It puts, and it really does two things. They're not, the biggest, they're not the most important things that, presidents can do. But it pushes the conversation forward. It puts pressure on the union. If you have literally the president of the United States coming in, like, he's putting to work the full power of the presidential bully pulpit, which, to be fair, is what a lot of people were expecting if he had gotten in there, Bernie to do. There was a lot of, this is something, and that in turn, when Biden got in, a lot of people on the left, they asked Biden to do this, which is to use his power as the president of the United States to go in there and give voice to, and give so much more legitimacy. If you're seeing, again, the president coming in, supporting this stuff, and you can tell by the way, even people from the Obama administration, like this economist who's in, I think, the economic affairs department, whatever, in the Obama administration, Stephen Ratner, he was giving quotes to the media, just freaking out about this, like, oh, he's putting his thumb on the scale. It's so wrong, and it's just so clear that you can tell that this, it's not going to win them the strike. The solidarity of the workers, the discipline of the strike strategy, the ability to put strategic pressure on at the right points. That is, we have to be clear here. That is more than anything what is going to win them this battle. But to have a president coming in and, he has shown no ability really to use political capital to help the working class in any way, or, with any actual kind of political reforms. But in pretty much every other way, he has shown that he is going to be trying, and he's going to be there in a way that no other Democratic president has. And I think that is something that you can acknowledge, and I think you should acknowledge at the same time, because it's absolutely, and you almost kind of sound a little bit crazy if you don't acknowledge it, because that is a historic change from the way things were. And I think it's only, I think there's a lot of things behind it. I think it's the pressure the UAW put on them by not giving them that immediate endorsement. I think that plays a much bigger role than a lot of people do realize, because, the Democrats, Joe Biden especially, is this union Joe, working class, middle class Joe. Like, he is somebody who is coming in there, and he is, really palling around with the unions. He's someone who gets along with the unions really well. He expects their support, and he's been expecting it from his whole political career. Denying that support a little bit early, that could have been in a long ways helpful. And he, and I think that, plus the general movement, the general push, and the impulse that he has to connect to the Democratic base through his pro-union credentials, I think also helped him there. But here comes the other side of it. You have to, as someone on the left, you say, like, okay, can't deny it. This is a historical change. And a massive historical change in the right direction from the president to show up to a picket line, endorse those demands, is absolutely huge, and there's no way around it. But when it comes to using your political power to, is this the end goal? Like, I think we get so unused to having any sort of wins. There's these people who are going to be super, super pessimistic, who are going to never give an inch, never in any way accept that anything good has ever happened. And there's all these people that were like, is this it? Have we just reached the finish line? Have we just done everything that we could possibly want to do? Because Biden, it's like, no. Like, we got to slow down a little bit, and we got to kind of get our feet back under us here. Like, this is not the end goal by any stretch of what we should be, fighting for. And the truth is that Joe Biden is not in any way really using his kind of union power, or not union power, but his, political power. His, the Democrats as a party aren't using their political power to make things substantively different for the working class. And that has to be the end goal. There has to be some sort of political movement that can pressure these electeds to not just show up in ways that they haven't in the past, not just to lend vocal support, but to actually lend material political support to what's going on here. And I think that is something that, when we start seeing that, we're in the real right direction. And it's not going to probably, I think the case for Biden to come in as this moderate, it's a lot easier for him to do this than Bernie Sanders, because no one, he has this kind of classification built in as moderate, which really does help. Let's see if we can get a video of Biden on the picket line. here for you, which I think is going to be pretty important, pretty remarkable to see. And then, of course, we'll get to Trump's response, and I think it's pretty important because this is what he had to say here. And this is a little bit of Sean Fain for you in the beginning, and he'll throw it to Joe Biden here.
Solidarity for all of our members and economic and social justice for all of our members.
Heard me say it many times. Wall Street didn't build the country. The middle class built the country. Unions built the middle class. That's a fact. So let's keep going. You deserve what you've earned, and you've earned a hell of a lot more than you're getting paid now. Thank you very much.
He's just walking around kind of aimlessly with the bullhorn. But yeah, that is some absolutely kind of remarkable stuff here. Just even that, just seeing it, you have to remind yourself, that is the president of the United States coming out there and saying this on the picket line. That is and kind of doing it from you have created that wealth. He's saying workers need a fair share of the profit they help create. It's not it's a liberal capitalist framework, but it is a incredible way of framing. It's normally you get the Alyssa Slotkin response, who's this wannabe senator, current House representative, far right on the Democratic Party, of the Democratic Party from Michigan. She comes in and she's I just want both sides to work together to get to a fair deal. That's what you would get normally from the president. But this is absolutely super, just absolutely, I'm just lost for just to see this. But again, you have to rein yourself in. You have to say, this is not the way it should be. There are more things that need to be done. This is not, Joe Biden doing everything that he can. There's so many other kind of black spots on his record when it comes to dealing with labor as well. The railroad strike is obviously going to be fresh on a lot of people's minds, but coming in, doing this is a big step, but if you want to judge him on the standard of what things should be, he's obviously nowhere near that yet. All right. Yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see when all of a sudden this is said and done in hindsight, how this actually fares from the strike. If we see, Biden's involvement as relatively irrelevant or kind of tipping the scales, giving it legitimacy that it needed to push it over the line. Well, this is a big sign. Him visiting is a big sign for the political sphere of things. I think it's going to be very, very important to take a look at the strike itself and the strike strategy, which is going to be a pretty big deal. So the UAW, they could strike additional Detroit 3 automotive facilities on Friday if there's no serious progress in labor negotiations, a source familiar with the talks said. Remember, on last Friday's show, we talked about how they're expanding for Stellantis and GM, but not for Ford because they had made significant steps towards towards getting to a deal. This is going to be a planned video addressed by Sean Fain tomorrow or Friday at 10. Bargaining continues at Ford, General Motors, and Chrysler parent Stellantis. If Fain triggers walkouts at more plants starting at noon, the UAW is expected to continue work stoppages currently underway until a new contract is ratified, the source said, speaking on condition of anonymity. The union has already shut down one assembly plant at each of the Detroit 3 and 38 parts distribution centers at GM and Stellantis. About 18,300 UAW members are on strike, but that's only 12% of the total number of union members working at the three automakers. Strikers are getting $500 a week from the strike fund, trying to keep that strike fund going, keep it flowing. So that is going to be something to watch as well, but it's also, I think, very, very important to keep an eye, keep a really good sense of the way things stand, for the strategy, how things are expanding, because, it's nice to see Joe Biden showing up, letting a few words of support, but as long as he's not going to, pass any laws or, do anything, substantive and political, it's going to be a simple battle of, workers. How long can they hold out? How long can they make the boss feel the value of their labor? Hopefully so that they give in and give the workers what they're worth. That is going to be, at the end of the day, what will determine this strike here. And we will go on to our next story in just a minute. Kind of the flip side of the coin, the Republicans, in just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening and supporting Newsflash. We now have a brand new way for you to be heard if you want, whether a text message or a audio message. Please, no video messages. I really just do not think that's necessary. We have a new feedback box open for you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is officially open. SWRN702@gmail.com. Send a text message, send a voice message of no more than 30 seconds via the voice memos function. Either of those two options, and we will 100%, not going to find this guarantee anywhere else. We're going to play it on the show, listen to what you have to say, and it literally could be about anything. Well, if it's inappropriate, we won't play it, but it could be about anything. Thank you so much. This is my thank you to all the listeners who have stuck out with us and want to have their own voice in the show. SWRN702@gmail.com is the address. All right, so good to be back. So good to be doing a live show here today. Let's talk Trump, shall we? Speaking in front of, more voters who first paved the way for Donald Trump to the White House in 2016, former President Donald J. Trump rallied a Michigan auto parts factory on Wednesday night, setting up a clash of messages aimed at blue-collar workers one day after President Biden appeared on a strike line with the United Automobile Workers. It's from the New York Times. Trip Gabriel here. Biden affirmed his support for the UW strikers' demands for a 40% pay rise, while Trump has given no indication that he backs the union's position. In his appearance at a non-union factory on Wednesday, Trump was seeking to drive the wedge between rank-and-file workers and their leaders, and to attack Biden by suggesting his support for electric vehicles would cost American auto workers their jobs. Again, no evidence-based kind of situation behind this, just complete fear-mongering and complete, Trump really here is doing the work of the bosses for him and saying, these unions getting too uppity, asking too many questions. They're the ones, and they want to, do this electric stuff here. They want to, they keep pushing with electric stuff. Biden keeps pushing with electric stuff. They're going to cost you your jobs. It's not going to be the bosses who are going to, refuse to do anything to help the environment or, do a just transition for the workers. It's going to be Joe Biden and it's going to be all the people who are actually trying to squeeze the boss a little bit for trying to share some of the immense pile of wealth that they have with the American people and their auto workers most importantly. So I will not allow, under any circumstances, the American auto industry to die. Trump said, "I want it to thrive. Get your union leaders to endorse me, and I'll take care of the rest." This is kind of a similar situation that he did last time. He went around to Ohio to all these plans saying, "Don't sell your houses. Like, I'm going to come. I'm going to save these jobs." Spoiler alert, people had to end up selling their houses. In a lot of that, outsider hope, that outsider energy, that things could be different. You're going to actually come in and change the system because he's a businessman. He does the right way. That stuff, that illusion is permanently, completely, shattered. Coming at the same time, I believe this, by the way, was organized by the National Right to Work Foundation. So I'm sure the crowd was eating it up. Coming at the same time that other Republican primary candidates were debating on national television in California, Trump's appearance outside Detroit sent the message that he had all but moved on from his lower polling rivals and was focused on a potential rematch for Biden in 2024. By the way, quick side note, that is why we are, saving the we're trying to go in order of relevance here. You get the president, you got the next closest challenger to the president and Trump, and then you got, some other jokers that we'll get to in a second. But Trump spoke at Drake Enterprises in Clinton Township, north of Detroit. The company's 150 employees make gear shift levers for heavy-duty trucks, as well as components that go into cars made at GM. As President Nathan Stemple said, it was a non-union shop, so maybe UAW can get on that. Before the former president took stage, a few hundred people were seated on the floor of the factory, and at least one man in a red UAW t-shirt said he was a union member and voiced support for the strike. The Trump campaign made no effort to recruit attendees through UAW locals, according to the union. Because, again, they had right to work come in and fill the crowd. Hours after appearing with Mr. Biden on a picket line on Tuesday outside a GM facility in Belleville, Michigan, Sean Fain, the president of UAW, told CNN, I find a pathetic irony that the former president is holding a rally for union members at a non-union business. Fain announced Trump's lack of support during a strike against GM in 2019 when he was in office and said he had no plans to meet with the former president during his visit. Trump has long sought to separate rank-and-file union members from union leaders who largely endorse Democrats. Again, this has kind of been the big disconnect. We saw this in Minnesota. We saw this all up and down the Rust Belt, coal mining, auto workers. This was a big time. The Iron Range in Minnesota was a big place where a lot of this happened, where, the union leaders would be like, Trump's going to screw us. He's not going to do anything. And the union rank and file would just be like, I don't care. I'm pissed. I hate Hillary Clinton. I want someone actually, who's going to make a change in the political system. And I think that Trump's conduct over the last 4 years, and just not so much anything he did, but the lack of things that he did, and he really wasn't that big, major step, that big major sea change. I really think that is going to be more detrimental to him than anything when it comes to this particular subset, this particular group of people. So Trump repeated again his recent attacks on Biden administration's push for electric vehicles, and repeated the claim he made that automakers, were being sold out by their leadership. It's going to be pretty interesting. I think Trump definitely has his hill to climb with these types of people, these kind of union workers, because in 2016 when union support, when just any sort of organized left support kind of coming into the 2016 election was just so low. The unions weren't doing anything for anyone. You had both these two major unions, and the Teamsters and the UAW, and that part of the world were just completely led by just ineffectual nobodies who just were not doing anything for anyone. It is a big difference now with Sean O'Brien and Sean Fain at the helm. I think that really gives the union workers, a sense of, okay, there's another alternative. I don't have to turn to Trump, who maybe I think is a little bit too rough around the edges, maybe a little bit too racist or whatever. I actually have a thing here at home, here at my workplace, that I can organize with my, coworkers and actually come in and, try and have a shot at making my material conditions better, which is something that they did not have in 2016, which should make it a little bit more of a conflict when it comes to that, at times tempting as it was in 2016, Trump pitch. All right, we're finally going to get to it. GOP debate next. My name is Spencer Walsh. This is the Spencer Walsh Radio Network, and if you're listening to one of our podcasts, whether it's Newsflash, Hidden History, The Spencer Walsh Show, or something else, ladies and gentlemen, we have one simple request of you. Please be sure to rate us, subscribe to us if you like us, and leave us a comment, because just like all of you, sometimes we need that feedback in our lives, good or bad. We want to hear what you have to say. So please do those steps. Make SWR content better. And thank you so much for listening. Perhaps in a little bit of a sign of desperation here, the New York Times is reporting that this was probably the most vicious debate yet. Fierce, unruly debate, shouting each other over foreign policy, energy exploration, and technology, but leaving largely untouched the frontrunner who was not on the stage, Donald J. Trump. At one point, after listening to Mr. Ramaswamy defend his embrace of the Chinese-owned social media platform TikTok, Ms. Haley Cannot had her disgust. Every time I hear you, she said, I feel a little bit dumber. We'll play through that clip and more. But first, this is, again, from Aaron Rupart, because full disclosure, I did not watch this debate because I was actually, going outside, touching grass, playing sports, like a, normal person who's not a loser. But I'm sorry to all the people out there who did, because these people are going to have no kind of relevance on the political spectrum in any real time. But again, I think we should still be able to have some fun and watch some clips that this kind of Twitter engagement farmer, Aaron Rupart, has compiled for us here. So yeah, this is how the debate started on Fox Business.
News channel Dana Perino and Ilya Calderon, Univision. Good evening.
Like that's what happened was when British and I guess Latina cultures, I don't know from specifically what country she's from, crossed there. That is rough. Let's run that back.
News channel Dana Perino and Ilya Calderon, Univision.
Good evening.
That is just like Univision. Like, I mean, at least you just got to pull the ejector chute at that point, which Stuart Varney clearly did. Mike Pence's Vivek's hair was styled up, apparently, according to Aaron Rupar. But yeah, so this is Joe Biden's, Mike Pence. This is how it sounded, his opening statement.
Joe Biden doesn't belong on a picket line. He belongs on the unemployment line. I mean, look, Joe Biden.
This is not a little, for a Republican audience, a little snarky line there from Pence. So yeah, Burgum here apparently said something before DeSantis, which is this was his opening gambit.
Allow me to.
I'm sorry, I have to jump in because we're missing the point, and every
Alpha
other network is
Burgum.
missing the point. The reason why people are striking in Detroit is because Joe Biden's interference with capital markets and with free markets.
Allow me to.
Again, it's just like this guy's like talking about capital markets, interfering with capital markets. Like, what has Joe Biden done to interfere in any way with capital markets? It's so ridiculous. It sounds like Ronald. Like, nobody buys this stuff anymore. It's just, again, there's a reason why he's at the end of the stage. Like, I do not know why I'm spending all my time getting mad at this, but here we go. Anyway, but it is, yeah, it's just like listening to that. I just think it's like nobody, nobody was really that in any way, motivated or going to be excited by that stuff. I am sorry. I think it's just becoming realer, more clear and more clear, by the day. We got a lot of stuff, a lot of clips to go through here. Let's go to the next one. This is Chris Christie going after Donald Trump.
And Donald Trump hides behind the walls of his golf clubs and won't show up here to answer questions like all the rest of us are up here to answer. He put $7 trillion on the debt. He should be in this room to answer those questions for the people you talk about who are suffering. And if the government...
Yeah, so that's Chris. Like, the thing about with Chris, like, if you don't give him a reason to come, you just look weak and you look like you're just begging for some attention from a guy who's clearly better than you. Looks pretty pathetic. So here's another one trying to make the same style of attack. Ron DeSantis.
These people, they need to change what's going on. And where's Joe Biden? He's completely missing in action from leadership. And you know who else is missing in action? Donald Trump is missing in action. He should be on this stage tonight. He owes it to you to defend his record where they added $7.8 trillion to the debt. That set the stage for the inflation that we have now. These people.
You're not going to in any way erode support in the Republican primary by attacking him on the debt. It's like no one cares about, just like saying he doesn't, maybe like go with that he doesn't hate immigrants enough, maybe, something like that. Just like some sort of, this is no effort here. It's like, why would he come when this is what you got to offer him? Two guys, one guy who looks like a clown, like a big fat oafish clown, just being like, well, Donald Trump should be in this room. And then another one who looks like a petulant little child, just be like, I could see the text of the tweet, Rupar paraphrased it, and I just could hear his voice saying that before he even said it. Who else is missing in action? Donald Trump.
Immigration and the border. We are going to talk about immigration and the border.
Child care. We have
I think we're going to go on. You have to. We have all these questions. We're going to get to you. We're going to come back to you. There's a lot of time.
We're about child care. Nobody answered the question. In North Dakota, we knew that the cliff was coming. We knew that there was going to be millions of people without.
Oh yeah, I can't even justify having listened to this, but yeah, Burgum just going off and going crazy. So here's a little bit of Tim Scott action, who kind of set things off going a little crazy. Let's take a listen.
Debate, he said we were all bought and paid for.
This is him talking about Ramaswamy.
And said, I can't imagine how you could say that knowing that you were just in business with the Chinese Communist Party and the same people that funded Hunter Biden millions of dollars was a partner of yours as well. It's not nonsense.
So look, here's what I want to respond. These are good people who are tainted by a broken system, and it's not the fault of anybody who's involved.
Some of us are tainted.
Excuse me. Thank you for speaking while I'm interrupting. While I'm speaking.
Well, you said Biden faithful.
If I may finish,
you can't be on both sides.
Gentlemen, you'll have your turn.
One of the challenges we should have a debate between Vivek and
business in China. Everybody knows that.
If I may address,
focus on holding Joe Biden accountable. That's what we need to be focusing on.
I actually agree with Ron DeSantis.
Everybody speaking at the same time, no one can understand
exactly.
your message.
So if I may, I agree with Ron.
Just so pathetic. It's just like, why are we even like listening to this? It's like, oh my god. And yeah, Vivek just again absolutely. He tries to go with the heart. Yeah, everyone's bought and paid for. I'm the only real one. But unlike Trump, he doesn't have the charisma to pull it off. And they let. Before when Trump tried to do the same thing, everyone's bought and paid for. I'm the only real one. Everyone else looked like babies, trying to catch up after him, trying to be like, well, we're not bought and paid for it, But then they're kind of coming in and yelling at him, and he's kind of have to cower it and go like, well, they're just good people, but they're tainted by a bad system. It's just like, oh, come on.
China, that must have been about the time you decided to start voting in presidential elections. So we're nice to have you participating in elections. So let me.
Yeah, so Pence, even with somewhat charismatic shot, calling Vivek young there, and Ramaswamy, of course, jumping in there, going, "Thank you for speaking while I'm interrupting." It's just like I do that too. I mix up what I want to say and switch my verbs around, but it's just like it just looks so bad doing it. All right, so here is probably the most Hillary Clinton-like moment of the Republican debate. Like, this is what you expect the 2016 Clinton campaign.
In Washington, D.C. also. And Donald Trump should be here to answer for that, but he's not. And I want to look at that camera right now and tell you, Donald, I know you're watching. You can't help yourself. I know you're watching, okay? And you're not here tonight. Not because of polls and not because of your indictments. You're not here tonight because you're afraid of being on the stage and defending your record.
No one knows. Everyone knows that's not true. No one buys that.
No one up here is going to call you Donald Trump anymore. We're going to call you Donald Duck.
Kill me now. Like, going with the Donald Duck. He's pulling out Chris Christie calling Donald Trump Donald Duck. Like, you cannot get more loser Hillary Clinton 2016 energy than that. Like, I don't know if that was a consultant. Like, he just, and you can't obviously see it listening, but he gives a little smirk to the camera. He's like, rah. And then Deanna Perino just goes, all right. Like, you gotta, like, this is just weak sauce. Again, he's afraid of someone Donald Trump is really afraid of someone going up to him and calling him Donald Duck. Like,
people who have been mugged places like Los Angeles and San Francisco. Just being in Southern California over the last couple of days, my wife and I have met 3 people who have been mugged on the street, and that would have never happened 10 or 20 years ago.
Again, aside from the point, like, again, who's going to listen to this guy talking about, we met people who've been mugged on the street? Like, just the sound of his voice. It's just like, oh my God. All right, here is another Pence clip.
Go to the Congress of the United States, and we're going to pass a federal expedited death penalty for anyone involved in a mass shooting so that they will meet their fate in months, not years. It is.
Yeah, again, just, kind of throwing out some debate red meat there. Here is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis responding to a question there.
And the doctor-patient relationship.
Governor, why is your record in Florida on insurance worse than the national average?
Talking about health insurance.
Our state's a dynamic state. We've got a lot of folks that come. Of course, we've had a population boom. We also don't have a lot of welfare benefits in Florida. We're basically say we want to. This is a field of dreams.
There's a private market, and you can die.
We're not going to be like California and have massive numbers of people on government programs without work requirements. We believe you work, and you got to do that. And so that goes for all the welfare benefits and the doctor-patient.
Yeah, so again, it's just really kind of the traditional, classic Reaganite style kind of red meat there for the base, perfect for the kind of more educated, more upper middle class people who are watching this stuff. Here is another Christie clip we can dig our teeth into.
are absolutely strangling. They are taking the worst of their members and defending them rather than advocating for our kids. And when you have the President of the United States sleeping with a member of the teachers union, there is no chance that you could take the stranglehold away from the teachers union every day.
He's sleeping. And then I think Pence, I think this is a clip further down. Pence had this to say.
Because by way of full disclosure, Chris, you mentioned the president's situation. My wife isn't a member of the teachers union, but I got to admit I've been sleeping with a teacher for 38 years. And full disclosure.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Full disclosure. Glad you got that out there. Sleeping with the teacher for 18 years. Yeah, it's like, I think when it comes down to stuff, you got to keep in mind, it's all playing to an audience, and that's not even the full Republican base. Like, if you're a just run-of-the-mill Republican and your school is on, like, you, I think, are going to be a lot more convincible than someone who's been sitting down. Again, this is going to be someone who is college degree, Republican socially, definitely Republican economically, and is sitting down to really get involved into politics, consumes upwards of an hour of podcasts a day. Like, this is who that debate is catering to, some of the people with the most hard right, not just social, but economic positions, which are just really not in, I think, broader step of the country. And this kind of rhetoric is showing. Here's another moment of Vivek trying to talk.
Can I just say one thing?
China is investing. If you talk over everybody.
Vivek, can I just say one thing? No. Yeah. So here's the Haley to Ramaswamy moment everyone's going to be talking about tomorrow.
Ramaswamy was speaking.
There's one person on this.
This is infuriating because TikTok is one of the most dangerous social media apps that we could have. And what you've got, I honestly, every time I hear you, I feel a little bit dumber for what you say. Because I can't believe that here you've got a TikTok situation. What they're doing is these.
If I may, just like this soy energy, just like, I'm sorry, just so beta on every single sense of the words. Like, well, if I may just like jump in here, like, it's, again, Nikki Haley is creaming Vivek Ramaswamy on this, and he just goes, he calls his, he's justifying TikTok, I guess, and Haley's coming in saying, you're like, this is a dangerous app, and then Vivek goes, oh, it is. It's like, what? Come on. Yeah. Here's the rest of that.
150 million people are on TikTok. That means they can get your contacts, they can get your financial information, they can get your emails, they can get
financial information. Oh my goodness.
This is important. This is very important for our party.
Exactly what they're doing.
This is very.
Yeah, so that is a little China goes exactly what they are doing about this. The whole situation here. Let's see if we can get one last clip in here. Another good one. You know what? Honestly, I think we're good. I think that's probably most of the main, most of the main stuff there. We covered it. We are feeling pretty good, and I think that gives you about a sense of you've seen all the clips people are probably going to be talking about tomorrow. All in all, though, none of these people you're going to probably be thinking about in by the time the snow starts to melt after this upcoming winter. So just keep that all in consideration. Have a great rest of your day. We will be back on Friday's Newsflash.